Hello, welcome to NYCOS TV episode 4. We've extended this episode to not only current members of NYCOS, but to many friends and former members of NYCOS going back many a year. So I'm hoping a lot of people are joining us tonight for this premiere. Leave us a message in the chat or leave us a message underneath. We'd love to hear from you and see who was here and listening. 6 years ago in Glasgow, we had the Commonwealth Games, and it had been speculated for about a whole year that NYCOS was going to be involved. We hadn't heard anything terribly much about it until about 6 months before, when we were summoned to a meeting to be told that one of the world's leading composers, Eric Whitacre, was going to be taking part and creating one of his virtual choirs, this time a virtual youth choir, asking singers to join from all over the world, but needing a choir on the stage at the opening ceremony as the bedrock of the performance. 36 NYCOSians were brought together, learnt the music, and we gathered together in a church. I was doing some final work on the piece, just making sure it was good. And then I looked up and I realized I didn't have the attention of the room. Why? They were all staring over my shoulder because Eric Whitacre had walked in. This song is so exciting. It starts with a wonderful scale that goes up and then bursts forth. And the song is called We Sing. It always gets me very excited when I hear the introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Eric Whitacre and over 2,000 young friends who've sent us their voices from 80 countries to form a virtual youth choir for this special occasion, with thanks also to the National Youth Choir of Scotland.
So exciting to see that and hear it all again. Going to take you back to a little still from that video now. Look here, look at that fresh-faced youth in the front. That's Arthur Bruce. He was in the Edinburgh Choir for 10 years, boys choir, girls choir. And I caught up with him a couple of days ago to ask him what he remembers about that event and what singing he's currently doing now. Please welcome Arthur Bruce. Arthur, very nice to see you. 6 years since Eric Whitacre and the opening of the Commonwealth Games. I wasn't actually there, because it was during the time of me working in Chicago, and I wasn't conducting. My work had been done preparing the event. So what was it like? What was it like standing on that stage? I mean, with all those people around, that huge big screen, knowing that there was up to 1 billion people watching you, singing that song that's a total earworm. I mean, once you start to sing it, you're singing it for weeks. What was it like?
Well, the atmosphere was electric. It was a stadium full of people, and we were actually sat behind the screen was our waiting room in the stalls, as it were, and it was a really, really exciting moment. Seeing, we had no idea what to expect. The various acts and the dancing tea cakes and all sorts. It was really a spectacular show, and we were honored to be a part of it.
So I actually stayed up so that I could watch it live, and it was very exciting. That moment when a young girl was talking about the UNICEF donations, and then underneath it I heard the choir starting to sing, and the camera pans out, and there you all are. And when I hear that again, it just takes me back to that great sense of pride. It was just wonderful, and looking forward to speaking to Eric about it later on and find out what he remembers about it. Now, look, you are a dyed-in-the-wool Nycosian. You started in an area choir. Tell us your NYCOS story, and then tell us what you're doing now.
So yeah, as you said, I joined the Edinburgh area choir aged 7, and I did the whole NYCOS pyramid. I did the area choir, and then I joined the National Boys Choir, first as a treble and then as a changed voice, and then I did the NYCOS training choir and big NYCOS for many years, and loved every minute. It was amazing being part of the NYCOS family, and I owe NYCOS so much of my musical education.
Well, you said the right thing. You said the right thing. Are you going to tell us? Are you going to tell us the National Boys Choir stories?
No.
You're not. Oh, you're leaving me to tell them then, which is that getting.
Christopher's got way too many stories.
But listen, but getting you to concentrate for more than 5 seconds when you were like 11, it was like 12. It was very frustrating. I mean, the number of times I went into the staff room and said, "That Arthur Bruce has got to go." And at the end of the day, I've told you this story. Don't pretend you've never heard it. And at the end of the day, I use you as an example now, because people will say to me, "I can't get that boy to concentrate. I can't get this one." And I say, "Remember the Arthur Bruce story?" I said, if we had our way, we would have sent him home. And now look where he is. Tell us what you did after NYCOS.
So I then went on to study music at the Royal Northern College of Music, where I did my undergrad in singing. I then lived in London for a couple of years, and then came up back to Scotland and did the opera school at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland in Glasgow. And I am now working as an emerging artist with Scottish Opera.
Yay, a NYCOS success story, a singing success story.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about NYCOS is that although there are lots of amazing singers who've come out of the NYCOS family, there are many, many more just excellent people that are better people because of their time in NYCOS. And we all still keep in touch. And it enhances one's childhood no end.
Oh my Lord, you've said, honestly, I could have paid you to say all those things. Well, next year, 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, because this year hasn't been a triumph, the year that never was, almost. We did an online course. I'm hoping for a relaxation later on in the year so we can rehearse outside and everything else. Money will be tricky. Raising money for the things that we want to do, but cross our fingers, we're going to have a bit of a celebration. So I'm hoping you'll be involved in it, and we'll be able to have some marvelous reminiscences. Arthur, thank you very much indeed for joining us with your extraordinary beard, and look forward to seeing you in real life sometime soon.
Likewise. Take care.
Wonderful to talk to Arthur there, one of thousands of young people from Scotland who've had such an extraordinary experience with NYCOS over the years. Right, let's wait no longer. Time for the main event. Please put your hands together and welcome Eric Whitacre!
Woohoo!
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, you're wearing a hat. I was wearing a hat up until I got my COVID haircut. Anyway.
Yeah. And my wife pimped it out. Check it out. She makes hats like this. So this is all her doing. And isn't it nice?
Absolutely, it's fantastic. It's amazing. So where are you currently? And are you safe? Is your family safe? And the friends? Are you in a good place?
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Yes, I'm in Los Angeles right now, and we don't live far from the ocean. So the weather here is beautiful. This morning it's probably 21 degrees. Won't get hotter than 24. So it's just fantastic. And everybody's safe. I'm here with my wife and my son, Well, actually, my 2 sons, because my wife is pregnant now. She's 5 months pregnant. Yeah. So, so there'll be 2 boys come November. And that's it. And I'm sitting actually right here at my piano. You can't see it, but here this is where I write music.
All right, well, good. Thank you for joining us. We have huge fond memories of the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2014. 2013, we were summoned to secret meetings, and they said, you're going to be part of the opening ceremony. And then it was only at the second meeting they said, Eric Whitacre, and we're going, whoa, gonna write a piece, and it's going to be the first virtual youth choir. Now, I asked my guys in NYCOS, I said, if you could ask Eric Whitacre a question, what would it be? And so Rebecca, Penny Kidd, and Josh McCulloch, they're fascinated by the virtual choirs. So they said to you, they said, how many virtual choirs projects are there now that you have done? And how did you get the idea? Because you were basically the first guy who did it.
Yeah, 11 years ago. So first, Rebecca and Josh, thank you. And to all of NYCOS, thank you. I miss all of you so much. Actually, probably all of you now. I probably know very few of the NYCOS members, right? So it's high time for me to come back.
There are still some there. There are still some
really?
there. Oh yes, they remember you. Josh and Rebecca remember.
No, they were there. So the initial virtual choir idea came, this is back in 2009. And all of you are probably too young to remember this, but back in 2009, YouTube, we weren't quite sure what it was. You know, there wasn't quite the, for lack of a better word, intimacy. It wasn't that everybody was broadcasting and sending out messages and seeing your close-up face. It was a lot of early meme stuff and video clips, and anyway, this young woman named Britlin Losey, who was only 17 at the time, she uploaded a fan video to me. She was singing a piece that I'd written called Sleep. And she basically, you can see the video, it's still online. She says, hi, Mr. Whitacre, I'm a big fan, and I wanted to make this for you. And she pushes play on her CD player. This is how long ago it was. People had CD players. And then she sang the soprano line while she was playing the recording. And then she just uploaded it to YouTube. She didn't know who I was and hoped that somehow it would find me, like an electronic message in a bottle. And it did. Like, a friend of mine saw it and sent me the link. And I watched Britlin's video. And like I said, in 2009, it wasn't it didn't happen so often that you'd see something like this, something so personal. You could see her room, like you could see the piano in the background, and her face was so close, and her voice was so pure. Her intention was so pure. And it just struck me, I mean, right in the heart. And I thought, if I could somehow get 25 people doing this, if they just did what they did, if they sang their part, soprano, alto, tenor, or bass, wherever they were in the world, as long as they sang at the same speed and in the same key, literally all I would have to do was start all those YouTube videos, and this choir would unfold, this virtual choir. So that was the basic idea. And then I figured out how to make a conductor track and put all of that up, and the sheet music for download. And I honestly didn't know if anybody would even join it. And we had 185 people from 12 countries. And then I didn't think it would sound like music. And not only did it sound like music, it sounded transcendently musical. And then more than anything, I didn't think anybody but a bunch of choir geeks like myself and all of you would want to see it. But the video went viral. It just took off. It went all over the world. And people started writing to me and saying, all right, when's the next virtual choir? How can I be part of this? I never imagined that I would do a second virtual choir, but now I've done 6 main virtual choirs, and then the one that we did, the youth chorus one, which I guess is 7, and then I did one for Disney for the theme park, which is 8. So I guess I've made 8 full virtual choirs now. Yeah, the past 11 years. It's just crazier than I ever could have imagined.
Well, of course, we're all trying to do virtual choirs now, seeing we're all in lockdown. And very graciously, I saw on social media that you had shared some tips as to how to do it, but nobody really quite matches you in the way they do it. And the latest one, Sing Gently, that premiered a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
and that looks fantastic. I was watching that with all the videos kind of coming together. It's just so cool. It's just so amazing. Has this in the lockdown, has this been a kind of a I'm assuming you've had a kind of a lockdown in LA. Have you been kind of restricted in what you can do?
Oh yeah, yeah. So first, like everybody, it really hit us in the first week of March. That's when
Sure.
we started realizing what was happening. And then within 3 days, every single concert I had for the rest of the year was just canceled. So that's it. So I haven't left Los Angeles in what, 4.5 months. And to be honest, I've rarely left my house. And the only times I even go outside are with a mask and go to the store, or occasionally to the beach. There's a part of the beach now that is safe to go.
Well, without being too cheeky, and say, I know that a baby has been created, but has this been a musical creative period? Have there been lots of pieces that you've had time to do, or you were always going to have time to do them anyway? What's the story there?
Yeah, although I don't know if I'm assuming everybody had a similar experience to me in NYCOS, that at the beginning, the first week or two, I was just in the fetal position. I was just knocked over. It was so, I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. So traumatic. And only out of that came the first creative impulse, which was to make another virtual choir. And so I wrote that piece, Sing Gently. It's a brand new piece written for that virtual choir. And that kind of then started the creative thing flowing again. And what I found now, every piece that I'm writing, I'm getting more and more prolific, I guess, as it goes along. I'm getting more and more creative. Every piece is not only related to the COVID experience, but is kind of born out of a sense of service. That what can I do? How can I help? Being a musician, it's not like I have all these applicable skills, but what can I do to help bring us together? In my very small way. What can I do to not only bring to get people singing and to keep everybody singing, but to the wider world to say, here's what we need to be doing to get through this together.
Well, of course, listening to music and singing along with music in your home is one of the great comforts. NYCOS favorite pieces of yours, When David Heard. We took it on tour to Hungary. It regularly reduces us to tears as we're singing it. I mean, when we get to the end of it and the very, very last bits of it, and it just fades away, and that change of chord at the end. And I would look up then and see people with and then you would turn around to the audience, and the audience has got tears. So what a wonderful piece. And Leonardo Dreams, and that's all sorts of cray all in the one page. I mean, it's so fantastic. And NYCOS has just recorded it. I personally think that without mixing my metaphors, they sing the bejesus out of it. But it's such an extraordinary piece. How did you come to write it? And what's the musical inspiration for Leonardo?
So Leonardo started with, which sometimes happens for me, just the title. I had this idea in my mind, the title of a piece, Leonardo Dreams of His Flying Machine. And I just thought, what a great movie that would make. I didn't ever even think it would be a piece of music. I just thought, God, that's a story that I want told. And then of all things, I got commissioned by the American Choral Directors Association to write a piece for their national conference, which is attended by about 15,000 choir directors from all over the world. And so then I knew that I could write a kind of piece that only choir nerds would really understand. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not often that you get to lean into that, where it's like, okay, everybody will know all of these references that I'm making, and this, even the style. And I started working with this poet, Tony Silvestri, that I work with all the time. He wrote Sleep and Luxe Rumque. And Tony not only speaks fluent Italian, but he's a historian. He's got his doctorate in medieval history. So he did all of this research, and we started basically making a screenplay to the story of Leonardo Dreams. So we had scenes, right? And the piece is written in scenes. And then musically, I remember thinking that, Da Vinci, this 15th century mastermind, what would the music of the future sound like to Da Vinci, right? Dreaming these visionary, what would that music sound like? It would sound like Monteverdi, right? So I imagined that what he would be hearing in his mind is Monteverdi, but then on acid, right?
Right.
Just so you'll, even at the beginning, Leonardo Dreams of his, all of that is very Monteverdi. It can almost be lifted from the fourth book of madrigals. And then dreams, on the word dreams, it all melts, right? of his flying, and you get you get that little goat trill, which is a classic Monteverdi device. So even that first page is all designed to try to bring the listener into this world of Leonardo's mind, this visionary who's thinking hundreds of years ahead, all the way to Monteverdi. Then when he finally takes off, when he flies, then it becomes minimalist. It's very, it's very modern. So now in that moment of flight, musically, exactly. And I'll tell you something funny too. This happens with a lot of the pieces that I write, but when I was writing it, even after I'd finished it, and even at the first rehearsals before we performed it, I wasn't sure any of it worked. I thought maybe I had made just a monstrosity. Like it even to my ears and the way I was thinking about music, it was so new and different and push and pull. And, it's got all those pieces and the different styles. And I remember thinking the night before the premiere, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. This will be a disaster. Not that the choir couldn't perform it, but just that the piece itself is like, does this even add up to a thing? Do you know what I mean? And it was only during the performance that I thought, okay, I can feel that the audience is with me, or with the story, that they're engaged, that they're following along. Oh, they're on to this point. And then when I remember the moment when Leonardo steals himself, takes one last breath, and leaps, that I could feel from the audience that they were invested in the character, that they were leaping, and that's everything. Then the piece works if somehow you can transport people like that.
I mean, it's there are colors in it that I don't want to say which my favorite bit is, because the minute I identify a favorite bit, then I think, well, then there's this other bit. But when they all just go boom, in the midnight watchman tolls, boom, and it's just, and then steals himself with one leaps, and then it's just we had such fun with that. We did it in the United States, of course. Being Scots, we roll our R, so it's Leonardo, and nice. We put our Leonardo had quite a Spanish feel to it. It was definitely a very we just loved it. Sandy Rowland, one of our tenors, says you composed for the Commonwealth Games, and you've just mentioned Disney. Is there another world event that you'd love to get a chance to compose for? Is there a secret wish in there?
So I don't know if you'd consider this a world event, but one thing that I've always wanted to do is write music for like a Pixar movie, an animated Pixar movie. I'm such a fan of the way they tell stories, of the artistry of all of it. We just watched Incredibles 1 and 2 the other night, and it's just masterful filmmaking. And so I guess that's a world event these days, because, my God, especially in lockdown, there's nothing more world event than a film that gets released online. But that would be a dream. And even more so to write a musical, that is sung. But
don't I remember? No. We sing the bit that we did in the Commonwealth Games. The initial idea from that came from another stage work. Have I made that up?
Right. Yeah, a musical that I've been working on forever called Paradise Lost. That it's funny you bring it up too, because just the other day I was thinking that maybe this is a good time to pull that back out. There's a lot of themes that are very applicable for today, and I think there's a lot of good music in there. That tune that we did, What If, it's very catchy, I think. And
do you know something? I mean, this sounds like a criticism. It's not at all. I daren't put it on if I'm not prepared to carry that tune around in my head for at least another couple of hours, because the minute you switch it off, it's in a groove. It's in a groove.
That's a massive compliment.
Yeah. So, but that's so. But this is interesting. You see, I get to hear so many contemporary pieces, and one of the great gifts that you have, that I find I'm concerned about elsewhere, is melody. making a melody that sticks, the gift of being able to write a melody that sticks. Somebody was asking me, they said, if you get a chance, ask Eric, when he wrote Cloudburst, where was the idea for all the, how did you make the rain? And how did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So first, going back to what you're saying about melody. So I couldn't agree more. And I'll tell you, I think the reason why more composers don't write melodies is because it is hard. It is such, oh my, people who are real melodists, and I'm talking everybody from George Gershwin to Lady Gaga. I mean, people who can write killer melodies. It is difficult. And so I think a lot of people just avoid it or, dress it all up in effects and these other things. I know for me too, even a simple melody, I work a long time trying to get that thing to work, and it doesn't always work. With Cloudburst, that was one of those things that I remember doing as a kid. Not exactly the way we did it, but I can remember in school where some people are snapping, some people are doing this, some people are doing this, and what you do is just with a group of 6-year-olds, you can make a little rainstorm. And it's just a fun way to, get kids to be quiet and to have a good time. And the piece, it's only the second piece I ever composed, Cloudburst is.
Really?
Yeah, first was a little piece called Go Lovely Rose, which was written for my college choir director, the man who got me singing. I didn't join choir till I was 18, and I didn't read music till I was about 21. And so I wrote Go Lovely Rose first for him, a little gift. And then in the school district there was a high school choir director named Jocelyn Jensen, and she was famous for doing these crazy theatrical choral concerts, different than anybody else was doing. Lots of movement and lighting and costumes, really cool stuff. And she asked me would I write a piece for her.
Right.
And so I remember I had this poem by Octavio Paz, and it's in Spanish, but it's about using rain as a metaphor, that the earth is dry and barren, and it's very very appropriate and relevant now, and that we need to bring the rain, that the rain would bring life. And I thought, okay, what we'll do is we'll build to that moment, and then I'll tell you a funny story about that. So, and then it would start to rain, that we would bring in these effects. Nothing makes me more excited than real world, a way of making acoustic sounds without instruments, right? So for instance, like even in Leonardo, bong, bong, and just like you said, and the altos, they ring 12 times if you count them, right? Yep. They've got all 12 bells. I love that kind of thing, like finding these real world solutions. So I knew that they would be snapping. And at first she had made this thing where there's a first thunderclap. I hadn't written that. And she just had them coming up, and then they opened their hands like this, like a lightning flash. And it looked fantastic. But I was working with the choir, and I was trying to get that it needed to be more exciting. I was saying, it needs to be like, it needs to come up and be like a clap of thunder. And then I realized, wait, it literally is a clap of thunder. So it was just one of those funny things that I stumble on in rehearsal. Sure. That first boom, and this. And I'll tell you, Cloudburst was another one of those pieces where I had no idea if it would work. I loved the idea in my mind, but it wasn't until we actually got it on stage that I realized, okay, it's going to have that impact.
I'm hearing something in you that someone said to me once when they were coming to a concert, and they said, so how's it going to go? And I said, well, we've done all the work, and we'll see how it goes and everything else. And you're kind of sitting, and then the choir starts to sing, and the guy's with me, and he goes, you're just full of it. He said, it's always fantastic. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't pieces maybe that you wrote that maybe they're part of an experiment, but so many. You're saying to me, Cloudburst, you weren't sure whether it's going to work. Leonardo, you're not sure. It's like these are some of our great pieces. Eric, at this time when, as you say, the ground is dry, our singing ground is dry, and we need inspiration, and you are one of NYCOS inspiring heroes. You are one of the people, one of the composers that we love to turn to. We are looking to a time in the future when we can all get back together and really sing properly. So the people who are listening don't really know this, but we had a plan, you and I and your agent and other people, to try and get you to come to Scotland last October to do a big event with all the NYCOS choirs. They were all coming together, and it didn't really work for a number of reasons. So I'm taking the opportunity to say to you, Eric, I'd love to invite you to Scotland again soon. All the NYCOS kids will come together. The National Youth Choir, the Girls Choir, the Boys Choir. We will work to sing extraordinary pieces for you, and we will then, I will pass them over to you, and you can do your magic. I'm hoping that in the future we can make that happen.
Thank you for the invitation. You don't have to ask twice. The moment it is safe for all of us to be together and singing, I'm there. Some of my fondest.
I'm on the phone to your agent. I'm on the phone just now.
Truly, some of my fondest memories are making music with NYCOS. It was such a great, who was I telling this about the other day, but just what a surreal experience is. I don't know if any of them remember this, but I don't think we knew that James McAvoy was, the actor, that he was involved. Or maybe we knew, but we didn't know. And then we were all waiting to go out. Do you remember this? Like we're right there in the side of the stage. And then suddenly he's standing with us and just kind of chilling out and, hey guys, and how you doing? And it was like, oh my God, James McAvoy's here. And I just remember looking back at all of the singers and saying like this, everybody's going, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a great experience. And also, by the way, an incredibly musical experience. Yeah. So when you're mentioning these like kind of mountaintop pieces like Leonardo and When David Heard, I look forward to coming and making music with pieces at that level. Also, by the way, if I can put in your ear, and this isn't a plug, but it's just, I'm excited about it. I've recently written a piece called The Sacred Veil.
Right.
And it's an hour long. It's for cello, piano, and choir. And it was written by Tony Silvestri, the same one who wrote Leonardo and Sleep, the poetry. And it tells the entire story of he was married to a beautiful woman named Julie. They had children. She was diagnosed with cancer, ovarian cancer. She got sick and she died. And he's written all about it. And I can't tell you what a beautiful, poignant, like it's a journey. It's an hour-long piece, 12 movements. And I think NYCOS would sing it so beautifully. So maybe as we're planning it, maybe we can make that like a centerpiece of, also it would be the Scottish premiere for sure. It just is finished. I'll send you the score and everything.
Excellent.
But maybe consider that.
The world is listening, Eric. The world is listening. We have declared it to the world.
So it will happen. That's how it works. We put these things out there and then it happens.
I am so grateful that you've taken a few moments to come and talk to us. We're trying to keep the singing spirit alive in the National Youth Choir of Scotland. You've been a big part of our musical lives. And on behalf of all the people that I work with, I'd just like to say a really heartfelt thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Maestro. I'm humbled. Good luck, everybody. And also, if I can say one last thing, is just that this will probably last another year, right? God knows when it'll be really safe for us to all come back. But I truly believe that there is this kinetic energy that's building, right? You can feel it. People, I think, all over the world are like me. They're aching to make music together.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was for me oxygen. Of course, I love music and I can't imagine a life without music, but having it taken away, doing what we do, being in a room together and making music, I just had no idea how much it ached. And I believe that feeling when we're finally released and we can all sing together, I think we'll actually enter like a genuine golden era of choral music. I think people will come back and sing.
I shared a thought with somebody 3 or 4 weeks into the lockdown, and I said, I have never felt so useless in my life, because everything that I've ever done has been to gather people together and for us all to create music together. And so the hope that we can do that in the future is fundamental. It's the reason I'm getting up in the morning, because we have to be able to do it. There has to be singing in the future.
There will be. And I think we'll all come back and we'll do it and we'll realize how much we cherish it. I'll never take it for granted again. I'll never even take a small, simple rehearsal for granted again, ever again. And hopefully the concert with NYCOS will be one of those very first concerts out of the gate.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, a NYCOS wave for Eric Whitacre. What a wonderful chance to talk to Eric Whitacre. What a wonderful spirit, such a great heart, very uplifting. At a time when we can't sing, he's looking forward, as we are, to the time when we can return. And you heard it here first. He wants to come and work with NYCOS when it's safe to do so. Thank you very much for listening in. If you haven't subscribed to the NYCOS YouTube channel, please do so. Thank you to Arthur for making time to come and speak to me, and to the tech team in the NYCOS office, Peter Muir and Rachel Murphy, who helped put these shows together. We look forward to NYCOS TV number 5 coming up soon. In the meantime, thank you for coming and goodbye.